You know, sometimes our fellow brothers and sisters who happen to be police officers, cops, which we'll tell you a little bit more about because I don't know that I have all my facts in line with that, but Mark sure knows a lot about the symbolism behind all these words and different things we see with both the police and military, and that's not what the purpose of tonight's show is for. But we will have him back perhaps to finish that presentation. If you like, watch the full presentation at freeyourmindconference.com and also whatonearthishappening.com. But sometimes I feel like our brothers and sisters with the badge, they just need a big hug. You know, our friend Charlie Veach from the Love Police, he's got the right philosophy. You know, these guys are in need, I think, sometimes of just a big hug. And I know that might sound a bit Pollyannish, but perhaps it's true. We got to stop coming at these people with fear, yet we have to be pragmatic. If a bear comes up to you in the woods, you don't come up to that bear and act all hippy-dippy with it. You take that bear out. Anyways, Mark Passio is joining us for the full program tonight, along with Popeye of FederalJack.com. Mark, set me straight here, because I'm all confused. The name cop, you know, we hear our police referred to as cops.
Right.
Or a cop, singular. What is the whole symbolism behind that?
Well, you were talking about individuals had said that they disagreed with when I was saying that the name basically means copy, okay? That it originally was derived from copper, which was what badges were made out of. Right. Long ago, and that is correct. What I'm referring to here is something called green language, or simply occult language. It is a synchromystic form of language. If you look up synchromysticism, language works out in certain ways depending on the movements of consciousness through time. And this is recognized by initiates in different occult orders, and it has been termed green language because the people who can see how this works out, okay, have a balanced neocortex of the brain. Both hemispheres are in sync with each other, okay, across the corpus callosum, the part that joins the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. And they have an awakened pineal gland, or third eye, okay, the third eye chakra. What the green color represents is the middle of the visible spectrum of light, okay? It's not pigment. This is another thing people, fail to grasp sometimes. When I'm talking about the left brain being representative of red frequencies, or the low frequencies of light, and then the right brain being representative of the higher frequencies of light, or the blue range, okay, all the way up through into the ultraviolet. The green represents the middle. This is why this type of language is called green language, okay? It means that you are in the middle. You're not left-brained or right-brained, so you can see the ways that language is working out to convey a hidden meaning. This is not necessarily anybody deliberately constructing a specific form of language that way, but it's working out that way in a term that's called a synchromystic sense, okay? Meaning it seems mundane, but the universe is speaking through that seeming coincidence. It's not a coincidence at all. So I recommend people look up that term synchromysticism, and I recommend that they look up the term green language, okay? It is also known as the language of the birds. You will sometimes hear it referred to as in alchemy, okay? So some of the examples of this are the word cop, okay? If you just take the first part of the word, C-O, and it's pronounced ka, right? And then the letter P, copy, and with an S, it's copies, okay? Police, pole, eyes, see things in duality, us versus them thinking, okay? Pole ice, which is a Masonic term, meaning that the ice is on the pole that needs to be climbed in this sense of the Masonic middle pillar, or also known as the Kabbalistic middle pillar of the Tree of Life. In the symbolism of both Freemasonry and Kabbalah, the middle path or the middle pillar is the way to higher consciousness. And if that pillar, pole, or path, these terms could be used interchangeably, symbolically, is covered with ice, it cannot be climbed to go to a higher level of consciousness. Therefore, the police act as pole ice. See, this is all an occult form of language, and it seems simplistic. When you see this more and more, you understand that this is nested in the very fabric of the intelligence that lies behind everything. It's a nested faculty of language, and language is a living thing that we need to understand. It is something more profound and mysterious than we think, because we only consider it at a mundane level, colloquial English that we speak. Right. But English actually contains a lot of hidden word puns and plays that mean something when we understand the symbolism of the occult. And this is called green language. So I would just leave it there and recommend to people do some further looking into it on your own, and you will see it's everywhere. You can see that the words, the common everyday words that we are using and speaking, have a hidden meaning behind them when you break down the words into their constituent elements.
Mark, where would you recommend someone go to learn about this? Like, I'm super interested in this. How would I learn more about this?
Well, you got to watch his presentation.
Well, not just that, but I would recommend some books on alchemy. They get into it as well. Another person who really got into green language was Aleister Crowley. Reading his writings he's a big enigma, because you have to understand he may have been actually channeling some of this information, or even penning it in a highly altered state of consciousness through meditation or even substances. And what he wrote does not necessarily jibe with how he lived. So Crowley, in that sense, is an enigma. Some of his writings are highly spiritual in nature. Some of them seem like the ravings of a madman. So, there is a lot of value, I think, in some of what Crowley wrote, and other parts of it, you could tell that he's brought his ego into it, and that is the man writing down, his lower, the thoughts of his lower instincts and lower nature. However, I don't dismiss his writings just because of that. There's a large disconnect between how he lived, particularly in his later years, as he became more degenerated into what I would consider a sorcerer, wanting to control people through all of this knowledge, versus some of the things that he penned when he was in a higher state of awareness.
Right, I've heard that before. That's interesting about Aleister Crowley. And speaking about cops and police and all that, I am still running for sheriff. And it's an elected office. I'm not doing it because I want the stupid badge. I'm doing it because it's a final buffer between us and federal tyranny. And I want to deputize my citizens and do all sorts of things that we've talked about on past shows. We had Sheriff Mack on before, of course, and he knows a lot about this stuff. So I really could care less about the system and bureaucracy. It's mostly just to make a statement. Hey, we can take back this country, and we'll do it on the grassroots level. Whether I have to run for sheriff or whatever I have to do, I'll do it. Whether I have to talk to the city commission, it doesn't matter. I'm going to be doing it, and I'm not going to sit by and just watch our country go to hell in a handbag. All right, when we get back, speaking of cops, once again, we'll talk, as I promised, about those crazy Canadians rioting over hockey. That's right, not over food shortages, not over the Federal Reserve fraud, over hockey. This is the Bob Tuskin Show. You're listening to us live on OracleBroadcasting.com.